It was kind of disappointing, and clearly there's always two sides to the story, but to read in the reporter that mold at Agua Fria was not an issue, and that staff had actually commented to the reporter that it wasn't an issue, and yet that really was told to me that it was in fact an issue, that it was a serious issue. And so I question information, and I would hope that at some point, we can get back to a much more open and trusting relationship. With that in mind, I did mention earlier that getting things onto the agenda and having some consistency on how we move forward with addressing, for example, policy, changing the policy was something that I had mentioned when I first came onto the board that I really wanted to work on, and I had hoped that we'd be a whole lot further than just introducing one policy right now. But I did try to respect the wishes of the board president and wait until June, and then to have the retreat change, again, have the agenda change, was just a little disheartening. I would just like to propose that under policy 120 that we consider reconstituting the board governance.
What does that mean?
Re-voting for president, vice president, secretary. I would just like to propose that.
So what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm wrong in hearing this, is basically shaking up the presidency, vice presidency, and secretaryship of the board and shifting it back to where it's maybe more representative of the wishes of the voters. Is that what you were saying? Because that's kind of what I heard.
I don't think necessarily just the wishes of the voters, but just something that we can work together. I think we're really struggling at trying to work together. And I feel as if the goal keeps moving. In other words, this is how you get something on the agenda. And then I try to follow through that way. And then, no, this is how you get something on the agenda. Oh, no, that's not how you do it. And so I just feel as if it's always a moving target. And I just don't know that, I don't know that I don't know that can be fixed. I just don't know.
I'm actually very sorry to hear you suggest that. I think that, if I have run the meeting in a way that has been disappointing to you, I think that's something you could have brought to me. We could have talked about. We could talk about it here. I don't think, first of all, I think that's a bad precedent because you're having a problem with me as president in the way I'm running the meetings. I think I've been trying to be very respectful. I'm sorry if you feel that that's not been the case. But I do think that we can talk through this and at least give me the opportunity to change the procedures of how I build the budget, build the agenda, or put things on the agenda. I think I've been pretty respectful when people have asked to put things on the agenda, with the exception of one case that I can remember where I was a little short. But I do think it really is a bad precedence of government to do that. I don't think, Steve, it's a matter of the mandate of the people, because certainly I was elected and Frank was elected on a mandate of change too. Whether you acknowledge that or not, it was true. Or certainly I defeated an incumbent. So I'm really sorry you made that suggestion.
It's uncomfortable. I mean, I'm uncomfortable. Anybody else uncomfortable? I mean, I'm uncomfortable. Going back to an analogy that Board Member or Secretary Trujillo said, if this were cancer, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We'd be just all over the place with incredibly bold initiatives and finding the money to make sure that it gets done. I mean, but it is. This is a cancer. It's a cancer of malaise. It's a cancer of mediocrity. It's a cancer of accepting the status quo as being, kind of okay.
Just thinking about my reaction to this, I think I also have the feeling of what comes to mind is if you're walking in the desert in New Mexico and right after it rains, the mud starts sticking to your feet. They call it peanut butter mud. And every step you take, you get a little more mud on your feet, and you get slowed down and slowed down. And I'm feeling like I'm slowly falling into the institution, as Board Member Carrillo said. And we got to break out of that somehow. If we're really going to make change, we got to break out of that.
Yeah.
To me, we had an administrators retreat yesterday and today, but executive team hasn't had a retreat. We have meetings every Monday. We're in a holding pattern, waiting to move forward. We know we have some things that we need to work on, but it has to be, and I want to be clear about that, it has to be at the direction of this board, not the old board. So, Steve, I'm sorry if I'm mediocre, if I'm status quo. I'm waiting for some guidance and direction. Well, that's how it feels. It really is, and it makes me sad because I think you all were elected on the fact that we need something to change in this community. I couldn't agree with you more, nor could my team sitting over here. But, we feel pretty beaten up too. I think there's some issues of respect. I think, Linda, you've talked about that. I'm very sad that you feel disrespected. But I think at the same time, principals that were here this evening, they came to a study session a few weeks ago and they said to me, Bobby, how do you stand it? How do you allow them to beat you up in that way and you come back and you work with us and you do this job and you continue to give your heart and soul to this district? Well, it's not just me. It's Dr. Morgan sitting over there, and it's Miss Lujan, and it's Miss Shonda, and it's Mrs. Johnston, and it's Rich, and it's Carl who has left, and it's Tracy. And we continue to give and to give and to give. And I don't expect anything for it except respect in return. And if you want another superintendent, that's your choice. If you want another executive team, that's your choice. And I suggest that you make those decisions. Because I don't want to work for 5 people that don't respect me. But aside from me, I don't want to work for 5 people that don't respect these people sitting over here, because they work harder than anyone I know for the children in this district that you were elected to represent. So let's have that conversation, because we're human beings too, and we've not been treated that way the last few months. And maybe that's what part of the retreat needs to be about, because you can only take so much and you can only do so much until you want to do something differently. So if you want to start over with new people and elect new officers and have a new executive staff, that's certainly your option, but we should be told sooner than later.
I would propose that this board be given the opportunity, I guess, to have a retreat where we get to have some honest communication.